I don't see the chair
Or the vice chair.
or the vice chair.
Is it possible I checked into the executive version of this? Because I got two invites at the same time. One was for executive, one was for this one.
And I just got two emails that the link for the executive session is not working for some reason. I don't know why.
It's because it's set up for April 14th.
Okay.
You sound like you're having a day like mine, Stoyan.
Well, yesterday I made a comment that I have no brain cells left over in my head, so I guess it was a good comment back then. If
Well,
we,
as long as I've got Todd here, we can just conduct everything and we'll call ourselves a quorum, right, Todd?
Maybe making rules up there, but
we need the chair pro tem. If we don't have the chair and we don't have the vice chair, I guess we need to volunteer. For the executive session, I will send Annette. Can you, during my talking session, can you send another link for the executive session and make me a co-host?
Yeah, I'll have to run upstairs.
I can do that, Mayor.
You can
I
create
just shoot another email out.
it. You have an invite to the executive session?
But for March 17, not for April 14.
That's John's calendar.
Yeah.
Could you try to verify that?
Any volunteer for chair pro tem?
I nominate Jay to be the chair pro tem.
I am on a cell phone connection at the airport, so I would
Okay,
suggest somebody else.
okay, I'm happy to volunteer to kick off the meeting if that's appropriate.
I
And
second Todd's volunteerism.
Okay, is that all it takes, Stoyan?
so let's do the roll call, and then the council needs to vote on the chair pro tem.
Whatever you send it. Send an update.
Yes. Okay, sorry, it's on your calendar, the executive session for today. Dustin's gonna send an update, but it's there for today.
For some reason, when you click on it, it shows up as April 14th, is what I was told.
That's what I got when I tried to click it.
Okay. So Tony Doan. Shell Anderson,
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Jay Arnold,
Here,
Todd Byerder,
Here.
Micah Chappelle,
here,
Damon Doyle, Al French, Roger Haringa,
here,
Matthew Hepner,
Here.
Craig Holt,
Here,
Pete Reekie, Katie Sheehan, Carolyn Traub, Corey Wilker,
Here.
and our ex officio members, Representative Keith Goner,
Gainer, but I am here, yes.
Gear. Could you say your last name again? Sorry.
Gainer,
Thank you. Sorry.
it's fine.
Senator John Lovick. Representative Alex Ramel. Senator Linda Wilson. And Lauren Lathrop.
Here.
And Assistant Attorney General Derek Meyer-Bachdahl.
I'm here, thank you.
Pete and Katie just showed up. So Pete Reekie,
Hello, I'm here.
Hi, Katie, thank you. Oh, Pete. Can he?
I'm trying to promote him and
Okay, we're waiting.
taking a while.
So we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Again, welcome everyone to State Building Code Council for March 17th, 2023. I'm Todd Barther. I'll serve as chair pro tem until our chair or our vice chair join. Quick question. We're
Point of
listing.
order.
Yes,
I think
please.
Todd, I think we still need to do a vote for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate that, Corey.
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
So,
I move that we appoint Todd Bayweather Chair Pro Tem. This is Jay.
This is Corey. I'll second.
okay, thank you. With that, are we allowed to take a voice vote on that? All
Yes.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so quick question as we move into the agenda items here. We are listing members that we know will no longer be with us. Do we do that because until their positions are filled, they still have the opportunity to serve? I'm seeing Derek nod. So, okay, thank you for that confirmation.
Wait, sorry, Todd, I don't want my nod to be
Okay,
without me saying something on the record. I think Stoyan should speak to this because he's familiar with the governor's actions and practices with respect.
Yes, they serve until they're replaced or, reappointed.
okay, they just happen to not be joining.
Yes, we have only one council member who can't serve because he's no longer eligible. Robert Hamlin, he wasn't elected. He was representing elected officials.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So that's the difference.
Okay, well, thank you. And with that, welcome Representative Gaynor. Okay, let's move into the agenda. Anyone on agenda item 1, welcome and introductions. Anyone from the public like to be recognized for this meeting? And I guess since we're in a Zoom format, maybe the public doesn't have access. I see an Elliot Brown. You've been promoted.
Elliot Brown, Johnson Supply.
Thank you. Just give it a second here. If anyone is requesting to be promoted by raising the hand.
Larry Andrews, Andrews Mechanical.
Welcome, Larry. Okay. Okay, seeing none, no more. Let's move on to review and approve the agenda. Can we hear a motion to approve, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Thank you, Chell.
This is Corey. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Edits? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Okay, so approved. Agenda item 3 is the possible executive session. Stoyan or Derek, do you want to speak to that?
I was gonna let everybody know that you should have a new meeting invite in your inboxes with an updated meeting link. So sorry for the inconvenience on that.
Okay, thank you, Dustin.
Dirk, since the new chair pro tem doesn't have the script for the executive session, how we can proceed? Can I?
Sure. I don't have the script in front of me either, but the way that it should be done, broadly speaking, Todd, is that you want to announce for the record that you caught me unawares on this one. Often I'll have the inside information. I'll usually have the OPMA up on my screen while the meeting is going on so that I can quickly answer questions like this. Sort of a peek behind the curtain. But I don't right now. So give me a second. So the script should say, we have to identify why we're going into executive session. And the purpose here will be to consider to discuss with legal counsel representing agency matters relating to agent litigation against the agency or potential litigation which the agency may be involved when the public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. That would be the basis for the executive session here. In the interest of transparency, this is in connection with a recent rule challenge litigation that was commenced in Thurston County Superior Court. So we'll be talking about that. The other thing you'll want to say, Todd, is how long the executive session will last and when we'll come back on the record. My understanding, Stoyan, is that you've identified 60 minutes. Is that right?
I have it for 1 hour.
Yeah.
Which,
So that's going to be up to the council members to discuss whether you want to take all that or do it, how we have in the past, a little shorter than that, and then come back on the record if necessary, Todd, to extend it if the conversation is longer.
Yep. Okay, to the council then, do we want to hit pause for a few minutes? Oh, I see it right here. Do you want me to, came through the email. Would you like me to read this, Stoyan?
yes, this is what.
Okay.
Did you get the script, Todd?
Okay, so with that, thank you. So I'll read this document now. The council will now meet in executive session to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation to which the agency is or may be a party with public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency as allowed by RCW 42.30.110, section 1I. The council will be in executive session until we will put it at 11:15 a.m. That is 1 hour as discussed. The council is expected to take further action following the executive session. And as noted, if an extension is required, I will come back on, or well, I guess it would be me. Okay, with that, is there any other discussion needed here, or can we simply move into our other link?
You need to leave this meeting and access the other one. I see Corey.
Corey, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, unfortunately have a conflict of interest after I need to leave at 11:15 till probably 12:15 and go to our apprenticeship. We're in negotiations and I have to address the apprentices. I have a conflict and I don't know whether that's going to cause an issue with the quorum upon return. If I can sit through the executive session, I'm scheduled to leave at about 11:15. So is that going to cause an issue with the quorum? I just wanted to have that on the record now and address it.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think we can address that when we come back. Okay. Craig, go ahead, please.
Maybe it's a point of order, or maybe it's whatever it is. I'm going to ask you for advice. I would like to suggest we use it for 30 minutes and come back and extend it 30 minutes if we need to, rather than block the whole hour and not take the hour and then not be productive for 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Striker Derek, if that's the will of the council, is there any advantage to that, or if we come back early, is that allowed?
So one thing I just would advise the council on, as Craig just indicated, if you come back before the 60 minutes elapses, we'd have to wait until we come, until you've announced when we're coming back, so the members of the public can join us. Okay. So it might be prudent to follow Craig's, but I would defer obviously to the council on that judgment.
Okay, thank you. Let's put it to the council. If anyone would like to make a motion for that.
I so move.
Thank you, Craig.
I'll second.
Okay, Roger, thank you. Any other discussion on that? Okay, so the motion is to change the to be in executive session until 10:45. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Yep. Any opposed, nay? Okay, thank you for that. So we will now leave this meeting and go into executive session until 10:45. Thank you.
Here to,
Sorry, Damon.
hi there, this is Damon Doyle. I'm your vice chair. We are still in executive session in the other meeting. Therefore, I have I just wanted to let everybody aware that I had some script, just to let you know that the council is continuing executive session. We anticipate another 30 minutes or so and look to reconvene at 11:20. Are there any questions?
We have one hand raised.
Go ahead if Larry.
Oh, sorry. You answered my question. Thanks.
Okay, Larry. Well, hang tight, get yourself a coffee. We'll be back around 11:20. So, okay, thank you, everybody. Back to executive session.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. We're waiting for everybody to get back from executive session here, and we will reconvene the State Building Code Council meeting for today. That is a very large room for 3 people.
Nope.
Soon to be 5.
Sure.
Is Stoyan back in the room yet?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Because I joined late, Stoyan, I assume that Tony, our chair, is not present today.
Tony is not here today.
Okay. I guess that then falls on me to conduct the meeting.
Yes.
Let me know when you think we have enough people ready to reconvene.
We need to.
Recording in progress.
Should we do a roll call?
Yes, we need to start with the roll call.
You ready? Okay, so Tony Doan. Shell Anderson,
Present.
Jay Arnold,
Present.
Todd Byerther,
Here.
Micah Chappelle,
Here.
Damon Doyle,
I am here.
Al French, Roger Haringa,
I'm here.
Matthew Hebner,
Here.
Craig Holt,
Here.
Pete Reekey,
Here.
Katie Sheehan,
I see her in the room. She's muted.
Carolyn Trout, Corey Wilker. Okay, so we have 9. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I presume that we are on item 4 of the agenda.
That's correct.
Which is to review and approve the minutes from the January 20th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Micah.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. Any discussion on the meetings from the minutes from the meetings of the 20th? Staff, if you want to scroll down just rather briefly. Okay, are there any questions or comments on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda number 5, public comment on items not on the agenda. Are there any public comments for items that are not on the agenda? I am seeing no hands. Any council members have anything they want to bring forward? Okay, hearing none. Go ahead.
Is this maybe a time when we could talk about appointing a legislative representative?
We can do it now or under agenda item 8.
Okay.
Let's say that to other business if we may.
Okay.
Micah, looks like you have your hand up.
Thanks. I did have a question based on our last meeting. We did table the discussion of tag appointments and work group appointments. And I did not see that on the agenda for now and just wanted to get an update on that from Stoyan on if that's going to be under the next council meeting or when is that going to occur? Thanks. Just an update would be great.
For the technical advisory group for 2024, I'm working on it, and I was planning for the next meeting in April because I want to start with the work group that we established, and the plan was the week of 29. Yes. So there will be a section agenda item for the April meeting.
Great.
Thank you. And that will include the work groups for R4 and child family care and all that type of stuff.
We will share information for the other 2 of cycle rules today under agenda item, agenda item 6.
Thank you.
Okay. Chell, before I recognize you, it looks like Larry had his hand up. Larry, if you could go ahead and keep your
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having a heck of a time negotiating this thing. It keeps flopping off and on. Anyway, no, the item I had for public comment was, since there's no reason for the executive session, why can't you guys do that before this meeting would commence? I mean, you tie the public up for an hour or more at times. And if you had that before, because we can't comment or anything, we can't do anything. And so we've got us in the middle here, just sitting and waiting. And my day is such that, and I'm sure other people are, is, if it was either at the end of it or at the beginning, it wouldn't tie us up for so long. And to come in and then start it and then go away. I mean, because we're on the hook to try to stay with you guys so we can keep an idea of what's going on, but it ties up a lot more time than I think is needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And I appreciate your comments on that, having been involved in many groups and meetings over the last several decades. It seems to be one thing that executive sessions tend to be part of an official meeting. But that being said, perhaps if we anticipate executive sessions, we can specify a time window so that the public knows that from say 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Will be an executive session, or that time is set aside. Perhaps that is something we could attempt to do. I don't know that we can have executive session outside of a standard meeting. If staff wants to give me some insight on that, I'd appreciate it.
The meeting dates, the meeting schedule is filed with the code revider's office. Special meeting is an option, but the council staff is not the right entity to call the special meeting.
Okay. I think going forward, we will just attempt to communicate that better so that people's time isn't wasted. So once again, Larry, I appreciate your comments. Chell, I believe you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I just wanted to bring up that there was MVE committee met, and I'm going to be bringing up as part of that the opinion that the MVE committee was not able to dispense with because we didn't have a quorum. So under item 6, I will bring up the opinion that expired, and I'll talk more about it under item 6. That's just to let the public know that's when I expect to talk about it.
Okay, thank you, Chell. Todd?
Thank you. And I'll, if I may respond, but I'll respond to the chair. The executive session is part of council business. This is the time we've allocated, and it is a burden on the council members also. So I think this is the proper format. Thank you.
I would agree with you. Thank you. Chell, is your hand up still, or does that? Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry. Any other public comment, either from public or the council?
So right now, David's.
Seeing none, I'll move on to item number 6, standing committee reports. Legislative committee, would you please give your report?
Sure, thank you. So this is Todd Byerther. I'm the chair of the legislative committee. I will give a quick overview of what we do, and then Stoyan, if you would like to quickly look over what we reviewed in our last committee. Legislative committee meets weekly during session. Our purpose is to monitor bills and bring back to the full council any concerns or anything that we think that should require full council action. As those of you that have been on this council and have observed, we did, as a full council, give limited authority to the legislative committee to inform certain bills or to take in a position of the full council. With that, I think it's best if I just, Stoyan, if you're interested or ready to give a quick overview.
Yes, give me a second to share my screen.
Thank you.
We started with about 45 bills. We were monitoring some, we were analyzing others, and we had several ledge committee meetings. Unfortunately, we didn't have any ability to establish the quorum, so no decisions were made, but we were discussing the bills. This is the first one I wanna share some information. There are no bills that we didn't discuss the previous meeting, at the previous meeting. So 1042, here is the requirement for the council. By January 1st, 2024, the council shall adopt an amendment to the current energy code that waives the requirement for an existing building used for residential purposes to meet the current energy code because of the addition of new dwelling units within the building. We proposed an amendment to this bill. I assume the amendment has been considered, or at least part of it. What happened with sharing the screen?
You've got it still. I'm trying to accommodate in here.
And again, I'll go very quick over these different bills, but if you have questions or if you want to discuss something, feel free to let me keep quiet. HB 1110, there were some issues with this bill related to the definitions, because the definitions were in conflict with another bill or in conflict with the definitions in the building codes. Fortunately, some of these definitions were modified, and language in the bill was modified in other areas, so that we didn't see issues for the council. Here again, my evaluation is based on what staff did analyzing the bills and based on the discussions we had at the legislative committee meetings. So if you disagree with something, again, feel free. 1167, it seems to be one of the most difficult. It was modified several times. It was lastly amended yesterday on March 16. You can see here the executive session. And two modifications to the bill were proposed. One wasn't approved. The second one was approved, I think, from Senator Solomon. This bill has some tasks for the State Building Code Council. We need to establish a work group and develop standards for middle housing or multiplex housing. And the second one is the council needs to adopt I don't know, appendix or another chapter. It looks like another code for buildings with a single exit. It's based on changes to the codes that were approved in Seattle. So we will need to establish two work groups or technical advisory groups for this. The good thing is that it aligns with the triennial code adoption cycle for 2024 codes, so we don't need to have another off-cycle rule. The next one is similar to one of the sections in HB 1167, but this one is more direct and it requires the council to adopt a rule for single exit buildings and allows cities and counties to adopt this language from the Seattle code. So it was copy paste from the code in Seattle. I know Michael likes to talk about this Seattle code, so he may want to share some more information here. Here is another difficult task for the council, SB 5553. It requires the council to adopt standards for temporary emergency shelters. The bill is simple, but it will need a lot of work for us. There was one that we saw as a trouble. It was related to kid homes, but this bill didn't pass the deadline, the cutoff date, so it's formally dead right now. I don't know, Todd, do you want me to share the schedule for next week or something else?
I think we can quickly share the schedule and then ask for any questions.
Okay. Here is the schedule for next week. The highlighted bills are with high priority or high interest. So the first one, 54 and 91. This one is for the single exit buildings. And the second one is the executive session for 55, 53. This is for the emergency shelters. And there are some others. Again, we are monitoring these bills, but we didn't spend much time because they didn't affect the council.
So Stoyan, from the position of the legislative committee, is it correct that we do not feel there's anything necessary for council action or for council direction?
Currently, I would say this is the correct statement. There were again some amendments to 1167. One of the amendments didn't really provide any benefit. It was just changing the requirements for the council instead of developing standards in the residential code. It changed the residential code with all other codes, but I saw this morning this amendment didn't pass. I see. Well, I don't want to say your last name because I'll mess it up, so I apologize. But Kate,
That's Gaynor. Thank you. So Stoyan, I think one that it's going to be heard in our committee in local government, the 5553, and it's directing the Building Code Council to come up with standards. That might be one that if you guys have an opportunity to weigh in and provide some sort of comment, that would be helpful for us as we pass that bill forward.
5553 was introduced last year, but it was much more detailed. And it's much simpler this year. We didn't comment on it because it was a task for the council. Are you saying we need to, and for the staff, typically we take neutral position until the council directs us to do something else. So for this bill, we were neutral. I attended the hearings, but I didn't provide testimony. So anything you want to suggest?
Well, we will be hearing it this week. I believe it's actually, we're gonna have, the hearing will be on, I guess we're having the executive session on Wednesday. So we did hear that. So, yeah. But it just gives you, it will be tasking the council with coming up with direction as to what would be appropriate for life safety issues. And I think it's kind of wide open right now. And I just thought if there was an opportunity for you to weigh in, that'd be good. But thank you for considering.
We consider the open language a better option for us because it didn't direct us in a specific direction. Sometimes it's good if we have a specific direction. Sometimes it creates issues with other state departments and in our case with the building code. So in this case, again, this is really difficult task, but we have a little bit bigger room to work with other agencies and other stakeholders until we figure this out.
Okay. Before we hand it off, are there any questions for the committee or for Stoyan and the staff?
If I can make one comment in regards to the legislative committee, I was, as you are aware, I was a little bit late this morning. I was asked on behalf of our industry to testify on House Bill 1589. In essence, it's a bill that was sponsored by PSC to eliminate, actually to prohibit companies that have over 500,000 customers, which would include PSC and nobody else but PSC, from extending gas service to businesses and residential beginning July 1. Again, I went there on behalf of the residential construction industry, builders and developers. One of the things that was circulated was that the language behind this bill was to mirror what we had passed on the energy code. So I did state that, of course, energy code provisions from the State Building Code Council simply address water heating and space heating and not elimination of gas altogether. Again, this bill did pass the House and is in the Senate now, and we'll see how it goes forward from there. But just an awareness, again, House Bill 1589. Because it's not on our radar.
We missed this bill at the beginning. We evaluated it like last week. It doesn't directly require the council to do anything, and it is for a particular area of the state. So we didn't. Well, we were late for testimony anyway, but we didn't submit comments either.
Yeah, and again, I just want to reiterate that I was there on behalf of the construction industry, but did comment on the fact that it was actually the bill sponsor who thought that she was mirroring what the council had done, and just to provide some clarification on that. But it's not really something that would be on our agenda, but I just wanted everybody to be aware of it. Micah, you have a comment?
Yeah, just since Stoyan did say I like to comment on certain bills. 1167 did get some good changes in it, and the single stair provision in that one doesn't go into effect until July 1st, 2026, which aligns with the Solomon bill, which was, and I'm sorry, I should give numbers. The Solomon bill is 5491. If 5491 had some good changes in it as well, they're only adopting the single stair provisions temporarily, while the SBCC develops language that would go into permanent rule. We could do that before the next code cycle if we wanted to. I know Stoyan doesn't like off-cycle rules, but it may be an option for us as a better path forward since the single exit provisions that were put in that legislation were Seattle specific. And of course, we've said all along that they weren't made for the entire state. So that's why we haven't brought them forward previously. But yeah, they kind of, both those bills, we worked to get changes in, not just Seattle, but the Washington Association of Building Officials worked to get changes in that did point to work groups or technical code language development done by the subject matter experts at the State Building Code Council. So yeah, it adds work to the SBCC, but that's where the work should occur and not in legislation. So thanks for all the effort on those bills. And they're much better now than they were.
Okay. Todd, do you have anything else to share? I'll take
No,
it.
we're good. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the BFP committee. Corey, I think that's you.
I don't see, yeah, I don't see Corey.
He was, had the issue after the executive session and he might not be back.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to report on the BFP committee?
Just want to start with the off-cycle, rules. So we, at the BFP committee, approved an opinion. It's related to section 429 for the electric vehicles. There was a question, there was a second opinion, a request for second opinion, but I will let Dustin address this a little bit later. Also, we discussed, the council staff shared some information related to the two off-cycle rules that we're currently working on. One is for the adoption of R4 occupancy group and many other sections that will be affected with this adoption. And the second one was related to child care. With R4, the adoption of R4, our first technical advisory group meeting will be 29th?
Yes.
On 29th. We received one proposal and we are expecting to get at least two more, and staff also added all sections in the building and the fire codes that have anything to do with R4 occupancy. So the technical advisory group will be evaluating the proposals and we'll be discussing whether or not the rest of the sections need to be amended. Again, we started kind of late in the process because of the session that we got involved. We had too many bills on our plates. This is what I can say for R4. Something else. We will be using the technical advisory groups that were helping us for the 2021 code adoption cycle. The modifications will be through the 2021 codes in the residential code and building and fire code. The 2024 technical advisory groups are not established yet. Dustin, do you want to talk a little bit about?
We've got some hands raised, maybe let them go first.
Okay.
Yeah, Roger, I think you were first.
Yeah, I actually am not prepared with details. I was kind of hoping Corey could present this, but at the BFP meeting, we got into a relatively long discussion about the role the State Building Code Council plays in interpreting the code, because there were code interpretation questions and we were unclear if we were the group that was responsible for responding to those questions or not. And there were good arguments on both sides. And I believe that the BFP committee wanted to move that question up to the full Building Code Council for a discussion. So again, I remember that was one of the items that came out of the BFP committee. I don't have all the details in front of me.
Roger, if I could share my recollection as well, is that historically the council has offered interpretations on state amendments, but not on the body of the IBC or the IRC in general, that there is a mechanism in which a jurisdiction can go directly to ICC for those. And then there may have been a question on whether or not the committee would respond with a response, or if it needs to go or get approval from the entire council. Those are the two things I remember from.
I was planning to address this after we finish with the off-cycle rules, so I can share a little bit more information regarding this. So if we can get back to it in like 5 minutes after we finish the off-cycle rules.
Okay, by me.
Okay, Micah, did you have something on the off-cycle rules?
Yes, I did. If we could get an explanation of the process, I was not aware that we were accepting or doing proposals for code changes to R4 or child health care. I thought those were going to be work groups that looked at the code language and, you know, what's being requested, not actually having or reviewing code change proposals. It'd be helpful, since I am the chair of the residential tag, to know how this process is moving forward. Thanks.
We received the proposal, so we can't throw it away. It's right there. If the technical advisory group wants to discuss the proposal, great. If the technical advisory group can find the proposal beneficial. I was expecting something from the Department of Health, but I don't have anything so far. And again, staff will provide all sections that have anything to do with R4 occupancy for evaluation. So the technical advisory group will be the work group on that. And the residential code will be in charge, the residential code tag will be in charge for the childcare. And the building code technical advisory group will be the party responsible for the R4 adoption. And we will be inviting the fire code technical advisory group for both meetings in order to for them to provide feedback. So the process will be the same as the code adoption process. We just will start a little bit earlier. So the proposal is part of the process. The technical advisory group doesn't need to accept or reject any proposal. The proposal will be part of the discussion.
Stoyan, may I get some clarification, being still somewhat new? We have technical advisory groups that I thought pertained to the 2021 code cycle, and we've completed that work. At what point do we step up and create new technical advisory groups, or do those continue on into the next cycle? What is the timeline for that?
We haven't started with 2024 code adoption cycle. We will start sometime in October or November, and we need to establish the technical advisory group for 2024 code adoption cycle.
Okay, so the existing tags then handle
Yes.
any ongoing.
So now we are using the existing technical advisory groups that helped us for 2021 code adoption cycle.
Okay. Any further questions regarding off-cycle rulemaking or BFP committee business?
I was going to give a little background on the childcare process as well. It's kind of proceeding the same way as the R4 topic. There is a request by the Department of Children, Youth and Family to increase the limit from 12 to a number that hasn't necessarily been agreed upon yet, but they're requesting 18 in a residential unit. And as a means of justification for that one, there have been some workshops or work groups convened to talk about some provisions in the code that could be added in the IRC that would increase life, health, and safety for the increased number of children in a residential establishment. So I've been working with some staff from DCYF They are proposing some changes within their own WAC that in the work group conversation were not really agreed upon to be enforceable code language. And then, so we have a couple ideas for amendments to section in the IRC referring to the childcare that will increase a little bit. There's not a whole lot of mileage there, and as I see it, there is a route to have more than 12 children in the code. It's just not in the IRC. And Mike, I'd be happy to hear from you.
Mike, go ahead.
Sorry, I think everything's going along just fine. My question was, you indicated an upcoming meeting, you said on the 29th. And was that for the, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm not finding any meetings for the building code tag or the residential code tag online under any of the meeting links, whether it's under residential tag specific or building code tag specific or just general meeting information. So if you have something coming up in a week and a half, be nice to have that online. Some more things.
Last Friday, we polled the tag members to see if they could meet either next week or the week after. Most of the people that are involved in these tags are going to be at the WABO IEA or AEI Education Institute. And we're not going to be available for the week of the 22nd. So it was decided to put a meeting together on the 29th. And those links and documents and things are in the process of being posted right now. They're just not quite up on the internet website just yet.
Perfect. Thank you so much. As long as they will be.
Okay, was there anything further on the BFP? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the MVE committee.
We left for the end the request for opinion. I will let Dustin explain what the request was. The BFP committee didn't vote on the opinion because there was a question whether or not the council and the BFP committee needs to issue opinions related to the model codes. And again, if you need information regarding this particular opinion, Dustin will provide the details, but the council is allowed to issue opinions related to model code language. And I wanna show you this particular section if I can.
I've got it pulled up.
You did? Okay. Can you show it, please? Okay. I wasn't here 10 years ago, but Krista is telling me that it was opinion for state amendments only, and it was changed about 10 years ago.
In 2007.
More than that, in 2007, to address also model code opinions related to the model code. We had a discussion last Friday for a particular opinion related to chapter 31.
3202 in the IBC.
The question was how much the council wants to get involved in this model code opinions, because some of them are really unclear. The language is unclear. If we involve liability here and other things, I know Roger, he may want to speak about this. Roger mentioned that if there is not a statewide opinion issued by the council, local jurisdictions can have their own interpretations, but we need to keep in mind that the council opinion is not mandatory for the local jurisdiction. So they can enforce their own interpretations.
Yeah, would you like me to speak to that?
Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it was a very good conversation at the BOP committee meeting, and the opinion that what I wanted to make sure that we talked about was having a consistent interpretation of code across the state is important, because as a designer, when I go in, I need to know what that right interpretation is, and if it's different in city A versus city B, that makes my job very, very difficult. So I think that at the end of the day, having a clearer interpretation is important, and we did not have this up. So that was my comment, and I can go on. I have a question or two or a comment or two about the WAC that's being showed. We did not have that in front of us at that meeting. This grants the council authority. It does not require us to render opinions. So I still think that having some clarity at the council level of, are we the person should we be doing this as a council? We have the authority. Should we be doing it? I think that okay, council will issue opinions. Okay, and the request has to come from a code official. So we don't have the requirement to do it if a private citizen asks for an interpretation. Is that correct?
That's how it appears here, and it's interesting to note that we will issue opinions, and my screen is covered partially here, under 1927, 1927A, and 7092, but may issue opinions on 514030. So to echo somewhat what Roger was saying, you know, I had the I guess pleasure may be the wrong word, of building under the UBC back prior to 2003, and where we had countless local amendments to the code. And we used to joke that, you know, building in this city or the city next door was like building on two different planets. The nice thing about the IRC and IABC rolling in was that it got us everybody on the same page. And I think that it's an important service for our council to be able to provide opinions to code officials that therefore at least set some precedents statewide. You know, when we're doing an interpretation on a code, I do recognize that some of the, you know, base code might be better interpreted by the ICC, but whenever possible, I would feel that it's kind of a service that we should provide. That's just my own personal opinion. Todd, did you have some comments?
Yes, if you're welcoming them now, I think Mike is going to comment on this, but he made a good point. Of course, there is an ICC mechanism for the jurisdiction to go straight, or anyone to go straight to the ICC committee. But I think, as we've discussed this more, I lean more towards consistency across the state, and this is an important value that the council brings when a jurisdiction asks the council. And then finally, I think it is because we adopt as a state the model code. I think it's important that it stays with the state to interpret. So thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Micah?
Yeah, I mean, I read the RCW and it does say we will issue opinions. The real question becomes, should we? Down the road, I mean, that's great. We have an opinion, but again, do we have the right opinion? Has it been vetted through enough folks? You know, I know the ICC folks are versed in this type of stuff, especially on base code. You know, when you talk about consistency across the state, just because we issue an opinion doesn't mean you're going to get a consistent interpretation. The administrative section of the codes that we adopt still leaves the authority primarily with the code official to render interpretations of the code. Again, that's why their interpretations, and that's the language of the code, and this is an opinion by the SBCC and not an interpretation. You know, the language matters. I think we could get into a very slippery slope here on if we issue an opinion and ICC issues a different opinion, then which opinion takes precedence? Again, I think it's absolutely the correct place for the SBCC to render opinions on our amendments to the base code, because that would be the best place for that to occur. But when we're talking opinions of base code, what takes precedence? Is it the building official as per administrative code, per the administrative section of the code for interpretation? Is it ICC and their interpretation? Is it the commentary for the ICC code books? Again, that is just an opinion or an interpretation of the author. I really think that, what Todd talks about, mentions about time and volunteers here. When we start talking of getting into this level of interpretation, this is a significant portion of time, because there are portions in just the one in question from the BFP. I know we haven't shown that yet. There are questions of what terms in there mean that we're going, oh, it's this, when that's not necessarily the case in all instances. So I really think this is not the path we want to take, even if we have the ability to do so. Lots of questions open-ended here for this WAC rule. Sorry, thanks.
Thank you, Micah. I think it's also important to note that there's a distinct difference between an opinion and a ruling. So, Chell?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I guess I'll just add two things. One is, if we get an opinion that is on base code, can we simply forward that onto the ICC, get their opinion, and then hand that down if that's, it seems, I don't know, maybe there's a mechanism for that. And the other one is that just because we render an opinion doesn't mean sometimes our opinions are simply pointing to the correct references that help answer the question, but don't actually say yes or no. We just say, these are the 4 references you need to take into account when you answer this question. So we have opinions that are, very clear. Yes, do this. No, don't do that. We have some that say, reference these sections because these are the relevant sections and they're the relevant definition. And so I think there's a wide range of how we can render opinions. So even if we have to render opinion, sometimes they're, less than black and white.
Thank you, Joe. Jared?
Yeah, thanks, Damon. I hadn't anticipated on weighing in here at all, just following the conversation with some interest. I'm not rendering an opinion at all on behalf of the council, and I know nobody's asked me to do that, but I did want to just throw out a couple of thoughts. Actually, I wanted to echo what Chell just said. Nothing in the statute or in this WAC tells the council what it must say in the opinion. And I can speak at least for my experience with going before judges will sometimes punt on an issue and not actually or defer to a ruling of another body. So one way of thinking about this potentially could be that the council has fairly broad discretion on how it wants to approach the opinions. The other thing I wanted to note too was the statute, the RCW, simply says that the council may render opinions. It doesn't mandate any obligation to do so. Really, this notion that the council is required to render an opinion comes from this WAC, which was promulgated in furtherance of that authority under the statute. If there are concerns with the council with maybe having that this WAC maybe ties its hands, that is something that could be addressed by potentially revising the WAC.
Thank you. Roger?
Yeah, I was kind of coming to the same conclusion. Our opinion may be stuck with ICC on something. But going back, if you could put up the other WAC, there are 2 things down at the bottom of it that we were talking about. I think that the BFP and or tags need to understand, are the tag committees, is it okay for a tag committee to offer an opinion? Should all opinions go through the full council? I don't have an answer to that. And I think that that's a related or secondary question to this conversation, is who offers those opinions and who approves them. And
I as I read it, it appears pretty clear that an opinion can come from a committee, but that the council reserves oversight, if I'm reading that correctly.
These are the standing committees, not technical advisory groups.
That is correct. It says committee, not tag, yes.
So that's kind of the procedural, Damon, is I believe that we approved one opinion. We had two at the BFP, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
We approved one. Does that have to officially go through the full council? Yeah, I mean, you said that the full council has oversight, but what is that oversight?
Well, again, at reading this, and I'm going to punt to Derek as well, but that first sentence, council-related opinions may be developed and approved by a standing committee of the council. So that looks to me like it ends there with the period. I think if there were questions that somebody could say, well, I tend to disagree and would like to recommend the council review this, that's certainly a vehicle. Derek, do you see that the same way?
Again, disclaimer, right? I've never advised specifically on this before, and I noticed that this WAC language has been around for a long time, and there might be some history here that I'm not familiar with. I do read the language similar to you, Damon. The way I would read this is, again, the statute authorizes the council to render opinions. This WAC delegates that authority to standing committees so that you guys can do that. However, reserves the ability of the council to make changes and amendments to them.
And I think in a real world, if it's a very simple opinion and the committee, a standing committee says, yes, this is the opinion of the committee, that's a quick and easy way to dispose of business, right? If it's something a little bit more complicated or a little bit more controversial, then it could, there's the ability for it to go before the full council as well.
If I can add from the staff perspective, so we get the request and we provide language for the standing committee or the council or both. But regarding the model code opinions, these are a little bit more complicated because we don't have the history. Some of these are old sections that were adopted many years ago. So first it needs staff time, and then the example is this opinion that was discussed last Friday. Dustin and we spent hours talking about it, and we didn't agree on one section. So and the ICC quote and commentary wasn't clear. And I called ICC, their technical experts. I talked to two people. They didn't even agree on this. So when we get to some of those opinions, then how the council decides on these opinions, it just votes 8-7. Is it a reliable opinion? So this is one of the reasons I made this comment last Friday, whether or not the council wants to weigh in on this type of requests. And if I can add something else, I see Larry Andrews, his hand, probably he doesn't feel his hand anymore because he's raising his hand he's been raising for a long time.
I apologize. I need to have another screen open here where I see that. Larry, your arm must be getting tired, so I'm going to let you go if you want.
Well, it laid down quite a while ago, but anyway, so I want to add a little bit since you brought up House Bill 1589. I testified against that this morning too, but that bill goes way beyond what the council did. That eliminates natural gas use totally after June 30th. And our opinion is, I mean, you can't stop the natural gas from coming. The natural gas is just coming out of the earth. Its global potential is 80. CO2 global potential is 1. When you burn it, you drop the global potential of the natural gas down to 1 instead of 80. So you're actually decreasing the amount of global potential that's out there. Thank you.
Again, Larry, I brought that up just, as an aside to the legislative report. But yeah, it is beyond what the council has handled. But thank you for bringing that up, Katie.
Thank you. Just getting back to what we were talking about, the opinion and staff time. I mean, I hear you saying that took you guys a long time, but on the other hand, is this another way to sort of not bypass off-cycle rulemaking, but sort of relieve the pressure to some extent of rulemaking, like needing to have clarity where maybe it's not perfect, but we can, so while it is time consuming, on the other hand, it doesn't require a brand new rule in an off-cycle way. Could that be one benefit too, even though it's time consuming for staff, or am I?
Here's how I see it, and I'm just going to throw it out there and see if I'm accurate or not. We have our list of rules. We have our codes, and the building officials have latitude to interpret them as they see fit. When there's a question, we are a resource for them to come to. We have instances where a standing committee can say, no, the intent of that particular code is X, or the standing committee could say, we don't really know, and we bring it to the full council. And then the full council can go, we really don't know what the intent of the base code was, and send it to the ICC. And I think that a request from a local code official to the council where we don't have a clear opinion, it's totally appropriate for us to say, we recommend going directly to the ICC for opinion on this. So there's many sources for the answer, but at the end of the day, and I think Micah would agree with me, the code official is the final say. It's simply an opinion, it's not a ruling. Okay, so yeah, I think we need to be a resource wherever we can, but if it's questionable, then the ICC is there for that as well. Does that answer your question a little bit? I see a nod. Yeah. Okay, Derek.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Dan. I would just note one additional thing. Building officials, I think, as I understand it, are almost always the final word on it, but there is a final word, and that might be a court. So if there's potentially a dispute at the local level regarding an enforcement, and litigation follows from that. One of the things a court may look to, if there's a dispute regarding what a code provision means, if the council has issued an opinion and that's on point, Damon, in my view, is exactly right. It wouldn't be controlling, right? It's not a regulation. There's nothing in the statute or anywhere else that I'm aware of that would require a judge to defer to the opinion, but it would be helpful to the judge. And it's not uncommon, especially in areas of enforcement of special laws like building codes, for judges to give some deference to agency interpretations of a field that they regulate. And so that's another advantage of having an opinion system, is that it can be something that a judge could use to help them get smarter about what a code provision requires.
I think that's really relevant. I'm going to put my builder hat on for a second. So when I put the hat on this, I'm speaking as a builder. I've been under the impression for a number of years that as a builder, if I'm working in a jurisdiction and I disagree with the building official's interpretation of a code, and I see here in the language that really it's only the code official that can make this request, but that I had the backstop of being able to go to the building code council and saying, hey, I think the building official in this jurisdiction is wrong. Is that not the case? I'll take my hat off. I don't know if Stoyan or Derek or anyone can answer that.
We accept a request for interpretations from code officials only.
Okay.
And if there is a request by a builder, developer, designer, we nicely ask them if they can coordinate with the building official, so if they can submit this request together. The other thing is, and sorry, Micah, it will take me 10 seconds. many of these requests for interpretations, they are not because the building department doesn't understand the rule. This is because the building department understands the rule, but they just don't want to enforce it because of many different reasons. So in this case, the ball is just passed to the council to issue an opinion that, you know, the building department already knows again what the rule is. They just don't want to enforce it without the council opinion. This is what we are dealing most often.
Micah?
Yeah, Aaron's pretty much right on that. In addition to that, I don't see the opinions from the SBCC as being a mechanism to trigger an appeal. Damon, that process is already laid out in chapter 1 of the building of all codes, actually, that the jurisdiction is required to have a means of appeal, whether that's Seattle has a construction code advisory board, whether that goes through, like Derek mentioned earlier, an appellate case or some means of judiciary relief. So yeah, that process is not the opinion that the SBCC renders. So
Gotcha. Okay, I have most of the code memorized, but that I'd forgotten. I knew there was some type of process there. So any other comments on this? Do we need to go back and revisit the request that was made to the committee by the council? Micah?
Sorry, I do still have opinions on this. I don't know if we have done this in the past, and I'm not going to ask staff to go back and research that maybe there are even portions of our opinions that have included base model code stuff. So I don't know if Ryan was about to say something. But I have no issue with us looking and doing opinions, and even doing opinions on model code. It's not a path I really think we should go down necessarily, especially if it only has to do with model code. If the opinion or the request for opinion includes model code to give context to our amendments, that may be something different. But for my opinion, and coming from code officials, I don't think that the SBCC should be spending a significant amount of time putting out opinions on model code. There's already a mechanism for that. There's a national group through the ICC, and they have a good history, and they may already have opinions or interpretations of these sections that just need to, the code officials need to spend a little time researching. I know that sounds kind of rude, but there's a lot of information out there on the codes. And so I don't know if the limited time that we have as volunteers should be spent interpreting base code or providing opinion on base code. Thanks.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to step away from it. Roger, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Micah, just responding to that, I think that the opinion of the SBCC could say CICC. If it is purely on a model code, we just direct them, you got to go to ICC. So that's still offering an opinion. I guess the other, answering somebody's question, there were two opinions that were brought to the BFP. One was voted on approved. The other one was tabled pending this conversation. So I would be fine. I don't know if we should act on that. I don't have the information up. It would have to be in the minutes from the BFP meeting, or if we just defer that to the next BFP meeting. So
the recommendation or the direction from the BFP meeting was to have this discussion whether or not the council wants to issue this opinion based on the fact that it was related to a model code language, and not to discuss the specific opinion. We have our version of it just in case we can show it on the screen, but I don't know if the council members want to rely on this limited amount of time and issue opinions based on what we have on the screen. So we'll follow your direction on that.
You're on mute, Damon.
Sorry, I assumed everybody could read lips. You still had your hand up, Roger. I asked if you had any further comment on that.
I do not, sorry.
Okay. Todd, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so as a member of the BFE, no, I think that is correct. What Stoyan said, we would like to understand direction from the council, and I think it'd be more appropriate to put it on an agenda and before the full council would take action on it and notice it.
Okay, I mean, I believe that it could fall under the committee report. If this was an unfinished piece of business that needed to come before the council, I think this would be the appropriate time. Jill?
And my thoughts are that we should help the applicant connect with the ICC for their opinion on purely model code issues.
I think in some cases that is totally appropriate. Stoyan, could you go ahead and put the request up, please, so that the council knows what it is we're referring to?
It's coming.
Do you want to summarize this, or is there somebody else that would like to summarize the request?
So we got this request from the city of Bellingham. I had a couple conversations prior to them submitting an official opinion request. They have a project where they are inquiring whether or not floors and exterior walls can project into the public right of way. And the specific nature of this particular project they're asking about, it's not the exterior lot line, it's like an easement lot line that establishes a right of way on the property where this building is at. And the question, there's kind of a three-part question on this one. And one is, can a floor and exterior wall kind of count as a projection? Because projection is not really defined in there. In this particular section of the IBC, features such as marquees and awnings and balconies are included in it. But based on my reading, they're kind of superficial and project from the exterior wall and wouldn't necessarily, if you enclosed them, or they shouldn't be enclosable and wouldn't change the fire separation distance. So does the 3202.3 allow features such as the exterior wall to project into the public way on the same property? Then the other part of that one, because of the way easements and public right-of-way are established in each jurisdiction, you may have a right-of-way for the public that is not on the same property as of the building. And so a second part of this question would be, does 3202.3 allow for projections into right-of-way that is not part of the property of the building? And then the third part of that question is related to the height of projections. As you get higher and higher above the public right-of-way, projections are allowed to project a little bit further out. And section 3202.3.3 indicates that projections over 15 feet are unlimited into the public right-of-way. And so this is a particular section that Stoyan and I couldn't necessarily come to consensus on. And that's really the background on this one is how does this section read when we don't have any amendments to that in our WAC?
Did we lose Damon again?
It looks like we lost him. He's still logged in. Maybe we could just allow for Shell to speak?
Sure. I guess, yeah, this is complicated and I did not prepare to answer this today, so I would feel uncomfortable rendering an opinion on that opinion today.
I guess that leaves it to you, Mr. Michael.
I've done a little preparation, but I always sound so negative and totally disagree. If you go back to question one, if we are going to look at trying to interpret or provide an opinion on some of this stuff, I think we need more context than just the question. Based on the answer, it sounds like we're answering a question of fire separation distance, which I'm not seeing in the question. Second, we talk about, we're rendering an opinion on something that, at least based on the commentary, you're talking about awnings and canopies and things are superficial elements of the building. However, that's not exactly clear in other sections either. So I think if we have that opinion here, we would need to compare that to other sections, especially something like our definition of gross floor area, where it says the usable space, or in other words, a portion of the building not provided with surrounding exterior walls shall be the usable area underneath the horizontal projection of the roof or floor above. You're saying here that a canopy, which is explicitly called a projection in its definition, is a superficial part of the building and is not considered a roof. Again, we're going to get into what's a roof, because if you have a canopy that's a roof, it could be considered floor area below it since it's usable. I just don't know where where we would be including this additional information in the answer, especially based on the limitation of the question. It sounds like we're adding more stuff in there that I'm not sure is accurate either, even though it does come from the ICC code commentary, and it may only be specific to just this section. But again, we need to, if we're going to look at rendering opinions on base code, we need to look at how that affects other sections of base code or even amended code for Washington. So we're going to discuss this proposal. I'm going to say answer one is not completely accurate, and we would need more context in the question for question one. And then I'll leave it at that. I don't know if we need to spend more time on this, if we just need to send it back to the BFP or even a tag to look at this further or get more information from Bellevue. Thanks.
Damon is still blacked out on his microphone. Should we vote in a temporary chair?
I'd like to make a motion that Todd Bayrather be the temporary pro tem chair.
I'll second that. Well, jump on it. Sorry, Todd.
I was thinking maybe that would just be automatic. Maybe I'm still pro tem. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Okay. Okay. So throwing me in here. So Roger, do you have another comment?
Yeah, I would like to make if a motion is required, I'd like to make a motion that this go back to the BFP for consideration. We're not, it's too complicated. We're not ready to.
This is Craig. I second that motion.
Okay, so the motion is to move it back to remand us back to the BFP, which does make a quick comment that I think that is appropriate, because I think the BFP was looking for this direction first of all, and then we'll bring it back, and apologize to the proponent on the delay on that. Okay, any other discussion on the motion to remand back to BFP?
I would just like to add in there that I think it would probably behoove the proponent to maybe discuss with me what their specific questions are and clarify a little bit more for the BFP. And I can do that before our next session.
That's helpful, Dustin. Corey?
I was wondering if the council could move it back through to get the answers we need before it comes before the BFP, because that's what we were kind of originally talking about at the BFP.
Corey, to clarify, would that include perhaps, it sounds like there's already been reach out to ICC also. but is that what you're referring to, or to the proponent?
I'm just wondering if this council wants to eliminate a step, because if it comes back to us, we're gonna send it and there'll be a longer delay. We could just make the motion to send it back and get clarification with staff for the question.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I guess I shouldn't say proponent. I guess the request or Micah.
Or I'll lower my hand. I agree with Corey. We need some more information before it gets to the BFP. I'll support the motion, but we need a lot more information from the requester prior to it coming to BFP. Because I mean, are we just interpreting a section, or does this relate to an actual project? I think this could have some impact on some of those, like over the pandemic, we've allowed, or a lot of folks have allowed say a business to extend into the street, you know, the streeteries and stuff like that. I think this could have impact on those. And so I definitely want some additional context. So thanks, Corey, for bringing that up.
Okay, and Dustin, I think that aligns with what your request is, right? So is that enough direction?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the motion is to remand back to BFP. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Okay. Thank you for that. So with that, I think we can move on to the MVE committee report, please. Go ahead, Stein.
Damon has some computer difficulties. He will be back in a bit.
Okay, thank you. Roger, do you have a comment before we pass to Shell?
Any chance we can have a 10-minute bio break?
Yes, yes, we can. Okay. With that, let's return at 12:52, please. We'll go to these.
Showing 12:50. I'm showing 12:52. We'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. Could we do a quick roll call, please?
Tony Doan. Shell Anderson,
Here.
Jay Arnold. Todd Byerler,
Here.
Micah Chappelle,
Here.
Eamon Doyle,
Here.
Hal French, Roger Haringa,
Here.
Matthew Hupner left, Craig Holt,
Here.
Pete Reiki,
Here.
Katie Sheehan,
Here.
Carolyn Trout, Corey Wilker.
Here.
That's 9. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I apologize for the technical difficulties I experienced on my end. If somebody could bring me up to speed, it was where we left off on the BFP committee question that was at hand.
Chair, I can do that. So we had just concluded the BFP committee and now we're moving into the MVE committee report.
Okay. MVE committee, Joe, I believe that's you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. So we did not have a quorum at the MVE meeting, so nothing officially happened. Primary item was to look at an opinion 22-02 rendered last year. And I'd like to bring that up as something that I think we should take action on today. So I don't know if staff can bring up that opinion, but I'll explain it a little bit.
Was this a request for opinion?
This was a request for opinion, and we approved the request for opinion, and I'll explain why we should revisit this, in my opinion. So we rendered an opinion on the table to translate HSPF SEER and EER 1.0 values to the new HSPF 2.0 values that are already being listed on equipment and have been for several months. And right now there's no crosswalk for builders, for code officials, for anyone to really translate between the two of these. So we, after a lot of work, we offered this as a temporary stopgap measure. And the opinion says specifically that it ends on the earlier of either January 31, 2023, which is 6 weeks ago, or when DOE or AHRI come out with an official table, whichever came first. January 31, unfortunately, came first. So right now we are in limbo where this opinion is no longer in force, but we need it to be in force. At the MVE, we did hear from the public that the table is expected now to come out in June. So I would like to suggest that the council, it could be because the MVE committee couldn't do so because there was not a quorum, that the council revise this opinion to have a stop date of July 1, 2023, and that would be the only change in the opinion. That's my recommendation, and I'll I guess, and then I guess to complete the MVE committee report, the other two items on the agenda that we couldn't get to because we didn't have a quorum were an update on the ERI group, and then the last thing was the legislative draft letter, which is already on our Building Code Council agenda today, so we don't need to bring that up. So anyway, I'd like to talk about this opinion and potentially revised opinion.
Okay, if we could handle those one at a time. Joe, is that a motion then to amend?
I'll make a motion, yeah. I'll make a motion that we revise this opinion to read until July 1, 2023. And that would be the only change in the opinion.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I second that. This is Craig. I was in that same meeting and I think it's a good move.
Perfect. Micah?
Just out of curiosity, since I was not in that meeting, why does it have to be date specific? And couldn't you just end the sentence that once the DOE or AHRI publish more definitive guidance? Why the date specific is my question.
Yeah, that was discussed heavily when this opinion was rendered. And the reason was so that it's clear to building officials that there is this is my recollection of the conversation from months ago, that it's clear that this opinion basically goes away after this date. So don't use these tables after a very specific date so that the tables will take precedence. It's not obvious. It's not immediately apparent when DOE publishes the tables, and the Building Code Council will not re-render this opinion when DOE or HRI publish tables. So that was felt to be a good way to address that, so that someone doesn't come back to this opinion in 2 years or 3 years and think that somehow these are good values to use.
I suppose it also protects us if by chance neither DOE or HR come out with an opinion by July 1. We'll have to revisit it again, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, we have hands raised, I think 2.
Thank you. I need to open that screen up again. Micah, did you have further comments? Your hand was still up.
I was just going to kind of follow up with that. I think, Damon, were you making the point, Damon, that maybe we don't need a date and we just word it that these are in effect until DOE or AHRI publish that guidance? I guess that was my thought too, is if we don't put date specific, then if they don't get it done in 6 months, then we don't have to come back and mess with this again. That was all. I think it would still be, this opinion is in effect until they publish that. I think would be an adequate way to address it, but that was all.
Are you offering that as an amendment?
You know what? I should say it that way. I would offer an amendment to this answer to not be date specific, just that this interpretation or this opinion can be used, or these tables can be used until that guidance is published.
So as I understand it, the amendment is to strike or until January 31st, whichever is earlier, put a period after the word guidance. Is there a second?
You're supposed to have public comment.
Well, let's
Yeah,
let's get a motion on the table and then I'll allow for comment. Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second the amendment.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Larry, you were first up on public comment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Douglas's that had a 14 SEER before, and it's the same machine, and it's lower than what it was before. And so I don't agree with this table. I mean, I could bring up some examples, but I don't have them right at my hand. But we're seeing the Douglas SEER 2 numbers lower number than the SEER rating, and the machine is supposed to be a little more efficient than the SEER rating. So it has a lower Douglas 2 rating, but it's actually more efficient than the SEER rating. And an example, like 14 SEER and the Douglas 2 of a 14 SEER might be like a 13.5. Okay. And I don't know where you're getting these tables, but that's what we're seeing from the Fujitsu line anyway. So I think this table that you're trying to approve is going to be misleading, because we might not be able to get to some of those numbers with that piece of equipment that's actually supposed to be, they're telling us, is actually a little more efficient, but it's got a lower rating, but it is actually more efficient. So thanks.
Thank you, Larry. I don't see any changes on any of the Douglas versus the original SEER in any of the rows on this table. But the question at hand is not to discuss whether the table is relevant or not, but whether or not to extend it. And currently we're extending until DOE or AHRI publishes more definitive guidance as per the amended motion on the table. Elliot?
Yeah, as a distributor, since the MVE.
Elliot, we may have lost you. Nope. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
All right. So as a distributor, I contacted some contractors since the MVE committee, and their concern was the same as Micah brought up. Well, what happens July 1? Nothing happens. And I was going to recommend as a public member to change that.
Okay. So just to be clear, what we're discussing at the moment is the amendment to the motion to just wait until more definitive guidance and not make it date specific. Are there any other comments on the amendment? Micah, your hands up.
Sorry, no, mine will be to Larry's question, which is on the main proposal. Thanks.
Okay. Seeing no other, Micah, you want to put your hand down? Thank you. Seeing no other hands up, we're voting on the amendment to the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now back to the original motion as amended, which is to just simply strike out the date in this opinion previously issued. Is this an opinion? If somebody could scroll up, I want to address it properly.
This is an opinion.
Okay. Okay, Chell, would you go ahead and comment on the motion as it stands?
Yeah, just some context. So a lot of people tried to figure out what the best crosswalk was between SEER and SEER 2, et cetera. And this was taken from Daikin's industry guide, and has been, according to Jonathan Jones, it's been adopted by a lot of industry folks for scope gaps. So that's where it came from. I just wanted to provide some context on that.
Okay. I note that the answer alludes to HSPF as well. Is that further down in the document, or are we just looking at SEER and?
Yeah, it's on the second page.
It's on the second, okay. Okay, I'm just looking for clarification there. Micah, please.
Justin, can you scroll down, please?
Thanks. And I agree with Shell. This is accurate. And I think our answer kind of alludes to what Larry's concerns were on specifics, where our answer states these are approximations that may be used for permits applied for. So again, this may not be, 100%. This is exactly the transference from one item to the other, but it is an approximation, and our answer states as such. So, if Larry has something on a specific piece of equipment that he needs to provide his code official, then the code official can evaluate that based on this table and based on the information provided by Larry. So this isn't a straight across the board, this is what you have to apply. It just gives you some approximations for information. So thanks, Larry, for your input.
Thank you, Micah. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Staff, are you clear on the motion to simply strike everything after guidance?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
And that concludes the MVU report.
That was my next question. Thank you, Chell. Appreciate it. Chell, you did, well, you had two other items. One of them was the status of the ERI group.
Yeah.
At the last Building Code Council meeting, I believe, I put forth what was a rather aggressive agenda as the head of that particular work group, and had hoped that by this meeting, we would have a finalized proposal. As it turns out, that is not the case, and my apologies to the council. One thing that is happening, however, is in addition to the proposal, the meat of the question, the elephant in the room is, will the proposed ERI score be equivalent to the prescriptive path in the energy code? And in order to determine that, we need to do some background analysis. And as I understand it, I don't have all the details. NIA is considering funding PNNL to do that evaluation. I have somebody working on that, and I hope to have more information soon. I see that Jonathan Jones is on here. I don't know if Jonathan, if you want to chime in and give us any further information. I got some of that information from you, but nonetheless, we are moving forward. I haven't completely sidelined this thing, and my objective is still to try to get it ready and approved by the council and to sit through the requisite public comment period so that we can get this into place as quickly toward July 1st as we can. So are there any questions on the status of the ERI work group? Okay, Jill, I think you had a third item for MVE. Was it not important?
Yeah, the third item was something that's already on the agenda for this meeting, which is the letter from the chair to the legislature on progress.
Okay. Then I assume that concludes the MVE committee report for the standing committee reports, and we can move on to agenda item number 7, which is draft legislative energy code progress report. Stoyan, could you give us an update on that, please?
This is just the 2021 report, using a lot of the language from the 2018 report, but updated with the information from the various studies from PNNL and Ecotope on where we are progress-wise with the 2021 code, please.
And we are already late with this report. The requirement was to submit it by the end of December, and we are already in March.
Right. Have we submitted the report at this point in time?
No.
No.
Okay.
Katie had suggested at the MVE committee that we draft and incorporate some language on equity, and I'm sorry, I have not gotten to that yet. So this is still the same report that was at the MVE committee.
Well, and I said I would send you some draft language and I also didn't get to it either. So I apologize for that.
Okay, and before I recognize Chell, your fingers are really big in your camera there. So our directive was to have this to the legislature before the beginning of session, and we're beyond the halfway point. Is there any sense of urgency in getting this completed and off to them? Stoyan, can you respond to that?
Well, in addition to what I said, that we're already late, big time. It's good to have it done ASAP, but we may send a letter to the legislature asking for more time if we're still working on it.
So outside of an equity portion, what is missing from the report? Is it simply our approval?
Yes,
The approval of the council, correct?
that's correct, yes.
Justin, can you scroll to the first table?
I'm sorry.
We had a contract with PNNL and they did their part of the work developing, developing the tables and ending up with the numbers, but we need a council approval before we send.
Okay. So do you have a method in which you want, I mean, obviously we don't want to try to review a 21-page report on the screen at this meeting, but clearly it's important to get this off to the legislature as soon as possible. How's the best way to go about that?
Well, it was posted on the website about, when did it post? About a month ago. And it was posted for the council meeting as well. If the council members need more time, then we will table it for the next meeting and we will give you more time to evaluate it. But we need the direction from the council. We need the time frame. We need, if we are sending a letter to the legislature asking for more time, do you think we can complete it by the next council meeting, which will be in April?
Yeah, that's near end of session. I'm going to go ahead and let some other council members speak. Chell, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I guess I'm same line of questioning you have, Damon, which is, could we just today empower Tony and staff to make minor edits to the letter and therefore, and then maybe even set a deadline of a week or two to get those edits in, minor edits, so that we could expedite the letter? I guess that is that a possible outcome, Stoyan?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a possible outcome. It seems like a good one to me. I'm not going to make a motion right now, but I might in the future.
Okay, Micah.
I've reviewed a few things. I just had a couple of questions on kind of background and information after that. It talks about that we start with the national model code. I didn't think that was the case. I thought we started from the previous Washington Energy Code because there were so many changes to it. We no longer use the base model. That is indicated in this report that we'd use the base code, which my previous understanding was that's not the case for energy. Then additionally, under the background, page 10, last paragraph, it's talking about the 2018 codes. I didn't know in this for the 2021 code information report. So just a few minor edits or questions, but I know there'll be probably more from the group, whoever is going to work on that, but thanks.
Katie?
Yeah, I don't want to delay this either, and I apologize for not getting that language to you sooner, Krista, but it really is a minor edit in relation to page 10 around, that this doesn't happen in a vacuum and that resources need for training and education, coming from commerce is helpful. And so that's where the equity piece, I feel like, comes in to make sure that the benefits are felt by all. So it's pretty, hopefully just a sentence and one that won't change the overall message that we want to work as a team with everybody else. So that was what I was hoping for, and I will send you the language after this meeting. So that I was thinking, and I don't think it'll be a huge change.
Okay. Can staff tell me where this is at on our main website, please?
It's under the documents for today's meeting.
Okay. Is this the first time we've considered this letter at a council meeting?
Yes.
Micah? Oh, Micah, you had your hand up? No?
I'll let it go. I think there needs to be some minor edits still as we go through it, but if this has to go forward, then it has to go forward. The minor edits are probably not relevant, and some people might not even read it, so who knows? Thank you.
Chell?
Yeah, another piece of context is I think the report that underlies this letter, I think, was emailed out to council members a while ago. And then this letter just takes that report from PNNL and simplifies it and puts it in a more concise form for the legislature. Just a bit of more context on where we're at. So there's a base report that shows progress, and then this letter is an attempted summary of that progress.
Thank you, Chell. Roger?
Yeah, I support getting this done and letting the staff make minor edits as required, as any council members have minor edits, get them incorporated. And I'm curious if we can issue a draft to the legislature. I don't know if that's a reasonable path forward or not. And then I do have a question, just historically, the table figure 1, I don't know what page this is, page 3. Is there a similar report done in 2006, 9, 12, and 18? But 15 was skipped for some reason. Just being new to the council, I'm curious if you can give us a little history there, somebody.
That's my understanding, is 2015 was skipped.
Okay.
Roger. That's the year that the legislature, if I remember this correctly, cut the funding to the State Building Code Council. So I thought that was the reason, but please, anyone correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, we did not have the funding to complete the studies that year.
Okay.
Okay. This is there's a reason that each code change sits through a legislative cycle. I feel that we've been very remiss in not getting this out prior to the start of session. We are now just less than 5 weeks away from the end of session, so I think time is of the essence. The chair would entertain a motion for some sort of action to get this complete into the legislature. Chell?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to empower to approve this by the council and empower staff and Tony Adone, the chair, who's signing the letter, to make, minor edits to the letter, and set a date of completion within the next 2 weeks to send to the legislature.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to have the council approve the letter to authorize the chair and staff to make minor edits and to have it to the legislature in the next 2 weeks, which would be the 31st of the month. Am I correct? Okay, thumbs up. Todd?
So I support this. I think there's always a possibility that the staff can recommend that we have to call a special session of the MV or whatever, if really needed, if it goes beyond minor. So that'll be up to staff and Tony to make that call, right?
Okay. Any further comments? The only concern I have is, the minor edits. That's rather open-ended. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means changing data. But nonetheless, the motion to be considered is to approve the letter, allow staff and the chair to make minor edits, and to have it to the legislature no later than March 31st. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Allow me to navigate back to my agenda here. Okay, yes, it appears that we are on item 8, which is other business. Seems like there was some other business that we had postponed earlier. Chell, you have the floor.
Yes, this is appointing an individual or two to represent the council in any potential active lawsuits against the council. I just wanted to recollect that and or bring that up because we decided to postpone that earlier. And I would nominate Micah Chappelle to that role. I don't know if that's a motion or if this is simply a nomination or something like that procedurally.
Okay, it was discussed in our executive session that in light of current litigation, we have a work group or a small group of one or more council members to act as the liaison to the council. Am I stating that correctly to everybody's recollection?
Well, Damon, if you don't mind me jumping in here, we discussed several issues in the executive session regarding the litigation. One of the issues was that it would be helpful to have the council designate a person or a group of people, not just as a liaison, but as a designee or representative of the council in order to make decisions on behalf of the council regarding litigation matters in connection with the Northwest Regional Council lawsuit. And that's one option. There are other options too that are potentially on the table, but I think specifically that's what Chell was referring to.
Okay, Derek, I really appreciate the clarification on that. I guess for starters, Micah, is that something you'd be willing to take on?
I'd be happy to help and I'd be happy to have help. So if anybody else wants to join, it'd be great.
Okay. Are there a couple more people that would be willing to assist Micah in this effort?
I'm sorry, and I want to jump in too, just as a reminder. So this is all a part of the public record, so I don't mind sharing this. The council was involved in a lawsuit in the last couple of years, in which similar steps were taken to have folks appointed to represent the council for purposes of making decisions in the litigation. And in that one, there were 3 members, 2 council members themselves, and then the third was staff. Stoyan Bubalov was identified as a member of it, just by way of background.
I'm of the opinion that would make for a good representation to council members and a staff member. So again, I'll ask the question, is there another council member that would like to work with Micah on this?
Yeah, this is Roger. I would be willing to do that.
Thank you, Roger. Stoyan, is this something that clearly you have nothing else to do, so you have plenty of time for this? So.
Yeah, I would consider this job security, so I'll take it.
Okay, job security it is. Okay, Joe, would you make this a formal motion, please?
I'd be happy to. I will make a motion to appoint a group of 3 people, Micah Chappelle, and I'm sorry, it's 3:30 a.m. where I'm at. Is that Roger?
Yes.
Roger Haringa and Stoyan Bumblov to represent the council in matters of litigation.
There's been a motion made. Is there a second?
A second. This is Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
And I'm going to interrupt real quick to say, I think for purposes of the motion, I would construe that as in matters of litigation, meaning the lawsuit that we referenced earlier, not for any other lawsuit that might be brought, God forbid.
Yes, that was the intent of the motion, and I can restate the motion with that if that's necessary.
That's up to Daniel.
I think that's clarification. So the motion on the table is to appoint Micah, Roger, and Stoyan to be our representatives on the current litigation in front of us. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Joe. Is there any other business? I see a hand up in the attendees here. Elliot, please.
Yeah, so contractors are wondering what it would take to get the code changed to Tier 2 qualifying products so we don't have to use a crosswalk this entire next code cycle.
Is there somebody, Jill, as the MVE chair, do you have comment on that?
I would like to punt to Krista. I remember discussions about that was an editorial thing, and that potentially if it came out in time, it could be actually part of the code. But I'm not remembering where that ended up. And obviously the official numbers are not out yet, so
right,
it was not part of the CR 103. So
It could be done as expedited rule once we do have an official ruling from DOE or AHRI. Or somebody could submit a proposal and the council would take it from there, and it would need to go through the full rulemaking process.
Perfect, thank you.
that sounds like Micah's favorite word, insert pages.
Okay.
Can't stand them.
Okay, I assume that addressed the question. Is there any other business? Okay, moving on to item number 9, staff report.
I don't have a formal report because I was expecting the meeting will take 6 hours, but I have some information to share. We are hiring again, so we will be hiring 1 administrative assistant and 1 code specialist. We will have the first interview next week for our code specialist position. And we have 2 more applications that I haven't evaluated yet. We have more than 30 candidates for administrative assistants. So for sure we'll get some help there. off-cycle rules, we are working on 2 off-cycle rules. It was already discussed a little bit, and we have 1 more waiting. And we will get some heavy projects from the legislature from this session. So my request for the council members here is, when you are asking staff to do more work, so please let's discuss this in advance. We will appreciate any help we can get. The council staff keeps working overtime and we get more and more new tasks. So if we can discuss everything up front, we can do whatever we can, but if there is not enough time, I will appreciate volunteers to help us out on different things. Code publishing, we discussed this on a few meetings, I think 3 meetings. WABO has a team of volunteers that is working at this code publishing, and I have to admit that they exceeded my expectations. So we are sharing information. They find mistakes that we didn't know about. So we will add their notes to our errata, and we will make the corrections, and we are helping them with their work for ICC. And also we are talking to ICC currently how we can publish the energy codes. ICC sent us a draft contract, and I sent it back for some additional sections to be added. So I don't have the final product yet, but the goal is we will have at least the energy codes posted on our website as a finished product. Insert pages, many folks are asking for insert pages. And we keep working on the insert pages, but this is a difficult task because of formatting issues. So I don't believe we will be able to complete this work before, let's say, April 15th. So in April, we will start posting insert pages on the website, but we're not done yet. And this is my report. If you have questions, I can answer your questions now, or feel free to call or email me at any time.
Stoyan might understand that our objective is to have the insert pages complete by July 1, though, correct?
Well, we will succeed with this completed before July, but because many jurisdictions, they wanna do their local amendments, so everybody is asking for the insert pages. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of these insert pages, but we're doing our best to make them ready again. I said April 15, but at least we'll start posting some in April. So I can't promise we'll finish everything by April, but we'll get some done.
Okay, Micah?
Thanks, Stoyan. I think what Stoyan's alluding to on the insert pages was based on a motion and vote we took that those were supposed to be completed, I believe, by our April SBCC meeting. So I don't have an issue that they're going to be late. I think Stoyan has put in a lot of effort with the WABO folks, and I haven't been involved in that one, with the WABO folks on getting Washington custom codes put together. And so those may be better and more accurate, kind of we've discussed previously last year about this topic, and getting an actual code book that has all the context and all the Washington changes in it, and not just the insert pages, which are a nightmare to do. So I feel Stoyan's pain on insert pages, and I appreciate all the effort he's put in. Thanks.
Stoyan, with the addition of more staff, are you guys going to need to get a larger meeting room there? Sorry, just trying to add some levity. Any
The room-
other?
The room didn't work out with the executive session today, so Matthew and I had to go upstairs in my office to hide there, and then we ran back on the first floor. So we need to explore some options here. But yeah, we are reserving the big room, and our council members and members of the public are welcome, but we don't see very many.
Well, it would be nice to have an in-person council meeting at some point in time.
Yep. Damon, I actually got a kick out of how far apart they're all separated.
Well, I don't see any math,
That's
so,
interesting.
yeah. Okay, and anything further from staff, Stoyan?
No, I just, it was very brief introduction, but I just wanted to let you know what we are doing.
Okay. We are ahead of schedule. Is there anything for the good of the order? Micah?
Sorry, I did want to ask Stoyan on the staff information. Council appointments. I know we have some openings and some folks that aren't there. And could you give us an update on that? Have we received applicants, or is that in process?
I haven't seen anything. My assumption is after the session, but I don't. Usually I get the appointment letters from the governor's office after they are appointed. So I haven't seen anything or heard anything.
Thank you.
Do we have, because I was late, do we have new people to the council now?
Yes, we have. You know, I'm bad with names. Key. Last name?
Gaynor,
Gaynor. Representative Gaynor, he replaced Representative Huff.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Roger.
Yeah, I would like to nominate Chell for a star for the day for attending at 3 a.m.
I'll take the gold star.
I'm trying to guess where you're at, Jill, at 3 a.m. I would hope that you're in Ireland for our St. Patrick's Day, but that's only
I'm in Thailand with my family.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I would offer that it is amateur night, so everybody be safe and get home early.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Hearing nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Great meeting. We'll see you next month.
Thanks.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.